Okay then, it's time to reflect on Arsenal's season. A team, of course, finished runners-up once again in the league, knocked out in the FA Cup by Liverpool, knocked out the Carabao Cup by West Ham, and made it through the quarter-finals of the Champions League, where they didn't really turn up against Bayern Munich. So what's everyone got for grades? Oh my goodness, that's really high. A for Shaka, A for Jules, A minus for Ali. Jules, an A, they didn't win anything.
It's not because you don't win something that you haven't had a good season, that you haven't been good, that you haven't been consistent, that you haven't played good football, that you haven't improved, that your team collectively and your players individually have also progressed. It's not because you don't win something that's not the case. And I think in this season with Arsenal, of course, in the end, you're 2 points short over Manchester City. You finished with 89 points, which is, by the way, the highest total in the club history, the same as the Invincible 20 years ago when they won the title. But at the time, there was not Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. So after 7 years without Champions League, to be back there, to qualify for the quarterfinals, you said it never showed up against Bayern. I thought the first leg at the Emirates was pretty good, that 2-2. The second leg was...
Josh, I think
more difficult.
Jules, I think you're being a bit generous.
What, the 2-2 at home against Bayern?
Yeah.
You thought that was a bad game? They made 2 mistakes that cost them dearly, but I thought they played well as a team. The second leg was different. They lacked experience for sure. And yeah, you could say that one, they didn't turn up really like we expected them to. But the first leg, I thought that was a bit harsh from you to say they didn't show up in the first leg. And I just think, for me, as long as you see the progress, and certainly from 2 seasons ago to last season, you've seen that progress. I don't know where they will be this time next year, but I think they will push Manchester City, Liverpool, and all the others again in that title race for the Premier League.
Yeah, no doubt there has been progress, no question on that. But progress enough to warrant an A?
Well, I in my mind, yes. And again, I'm with Jules. We're talking about an Arsenal that finished 2 points shy of Manchester City, who some will continue to argue, even with Real Madrid winning Champions League, are the best team in European football. And then Arsenal fans will also make some of the same points that Jules did around the Bayern Munich game, around the lack of VAR with West Ham in the EFL Cup. I'm still hearing that. So they're...
Who are you talking to, Shaq?
Trust me, I'm trying not to hear it. People keep telling me. So I think there's a lot to kind of look back on and maybe feel didn't go your way in not recognizing deeper runs in either of those cups. But ultimately, I always felt that Arsenal would happily sacrifice all of those cups in making a serious run at the Premier League. And they did that. But they fall just short to the team that just knows how to win, certainly Premier Leagues, better than anybody else. But you fall just short. That's an A.
You look at me, I gave an A minus.
Exactly, that's why I was waiting for your retort to the A.
So well, I mean, it's not a retort per se. An A minus is still a very good grade. But it becomes a minus for 2 reasons. The second half against Aston Villa at home and the quarterfinal of Champions League against a very vulnerable Bayern Munich. They don't warrant an A and they don't earn an A because I think in those matches you want to see greatness. You want to see a team that, if indeed we're seeing growth, we want to see that growth take you to a different level. And that second half against Aston Villa at home was disappointing. And over the 2 legs, while I understand what Jules is saying about the first leg against Bayern Munich, I just think over the 2 legs, there should have been more of a difference between these 2 teams. And I felt like Arsenal went away from the things that made them successful up until that point, certainly in the second leg. There was a lot of sort of blank stares in that second leg, and maybe it's the lack of experience. Maybe it's the fact that they hadn't been there before as a group. Maybe it's a learning moment for Arsenal. Well, as a learning moment, you get an A minus this year, and if indeed you learn and you're exposed to that same sort of situation next year and you're actually successful, you'll earn an A.
What do they need to do this summer, Jules? Or what can they do this summer?
It's a good question. I think the priority this summer is to extend Mikel Arteta's contract. He only has 1 year left on his current deal, and I think both parties want to continue together, so I don't think the agreement will be too difficult to find. And then it's the squad. You know, I don't think they would want to change too many things in that squad, especially because they've tied up to longer deals the key players in that squad, from Saliba to Odegaard to Saka. etc. Trossard, Tomiyasu. So all the players they wanted to extend and have longer deals have their longer deals. So then is maybe you look at who you could transfer out, a Smith Rowe maybe, and then Ketia, those kind of players, and see how much money you can get to then maybe make some adjustment to your squad to have more depth, to stay competitive, to bring maybe a different profile up front, for example, slight different, someone who has a different approach to a Kai Havertz or Gabriel Jesus, for example, something like that. Maybe defensively with another centre back, maybe in midfield too. Maybe you need somebody, if Partey goes, for example, you need somebody to replace him and has a different profile as a 6 than Rice can have and Jorginho can have. So for me, the bulk of the squad will stay the same, but you might have 2 maybe going out and 1 coming in or 2 coming in, again, to refresh things a little bit and also to bring different profiles to maybe try to keep competitive that squad.
What positions, Jules?
So I think, again, in terms of positions, it's more likely to be dictated in a way by who's leaving. So if Thomas Partey leaves, he's got 1 year left on his contract. If he leaves this summer, then you look at replacing him with somebody as a 6 that can play in the style of Mikel Arteta, of the way this team. If you want Declan Rice to be that man, then you go and look for number 8 on the left-hand side of the pitch, likely left-footed. If you want to keep Declan Rice in that position, where he's done really well in the second half of the season, then you go and look for a 6. I don't know, someone, let's say like Zubimendi, for example, at La Real Sociedad, who is a very good player, very compatible with what Mikel Arteta wants to do, for example. It would depend on your budget and how much you can put in for that player. So then you'll have to look. But I think it will be dictated by who's leaving, and that will obviously make you sign who you want. If Partey stays, you're not going to go and get another defensive midfielder because you will already be with Partey, with Jorginho, with Rice. And I don't think you need a 4th one, for example, there.
What do they need?
Forward.
What sort of forward?
A center forward, goal-scoring forward, not a semi-forward, not a
Does that not
underneath
upset the
striker.
balance, though? Didn't they have a forward in like Jesus or
No.
Nketiah?
No. Again, I'm saying a forward. A forward.
They had a forward.
Well, that's not a forward. And, Kai Havertz is not a forward. Gabriel Jesus is not a forward. It's not the sort of personality nor the sort of player or profile of a guy who's going to get you the goal when you need it the most. When you need it. No. See, for me, a guy like Kai Havertz scoring tap-ins at the end of the season, great, fantastic. There was an improvement in his game and in his productivity. But I need that to happen over the course of the season.
But without question, the first order of business is that style of finisher. And I think Osimhen ticks all the boxes that Arsenal need.
Osimhen's going to be linked to a lot of clubs this summer, Jules. Has Arsenal got a chance?
The thing with Osimhen is that he will be very expensive. Even if I think price will have go down this season because Napoli have been dreadful and he hasn't been great. Certainly not as great as the season before when they won the league and the Spalletti and him and Kvaratskhelia played so well. So it won't be as expensive as the 150, maybe 180 million that De Laurentiis wanted a year ago, for example. But it will still be expensive. It will still be around the 80 to 100 million euros. And that's a lot of money. And right now, I'm not sure if Arsenal really can go and sign a 100 million striker, really. Unless, again, they sell and they will have to sell well. So, and the thing is, with Osimhen or Vlahovic or Isak or Watkins or whoever you want as a real 9, we go back to the debate that we had in January. In the way Mikel Arteta and this team plays, your 9 needs to do more than just scoring goals. And I know others can do that. And I hear Ali and Shaka's argument for sure for a real number 9. The thing is, Kai Havertz also recovers the most ball in the last third of the pitch. He's the one that presses the most. He's the one that does a lot of things off the ball that maybe Osimhen wouldn't do, or Vlahovic wouldn't do, or Isak wouldn't do. And then we go back to what kind of profile do you want then in your team? Do you want a Erling Haaland type that touches the ball 10 times a game but scores 3 goals? Or do you want and do you need, more importantly, not just what you want, but what you need for your team, the way your team controls game, the way your team plays with and without the ball? Somebody who just is just there everywhere. He's the first one to press. He's also taking part in the build-up, which something that Haaland doesn't do, for example. That Osimhen doesn't do too much. That Vlahovic doesn't do too much either. So this is what they will have to figure out. But of course, if you say to Mikel Arteta, hey, we've got 200 million, you can sign the striker you want, I'm sure he will be super keen to go for an Osimhen or a Vlahovic or an Isak. But the reality might slightly be different.
Jules, you're an Arsenal fan, right? So what do you want? What do you want? You want Kai Havertz to be the guy scoring the goals for you, or you want a forward?
I wanted Kylian Mbappe to come. Unfortunately, I was not good enough.
He doesn't drop back to press, though. He doesn't drop back to win the ball.
Exactly, he doesn't move enough.
Doesn't fit the profile.
Too soon prediction then, Shaq.
For
Arsenal next season.
second again. It's just.
Will they get an A again if they come second?
If they make a fist of it again, if they're 2 points behind, yeah, I don't see why not. But it's just hard to, right now, it's just hard to see past Manchester City as it always is this time of the season.
Yeah, second. Comfortably second.
Okay.
Better than everybody else second, but not better than
What about
Manchester
Champions League?
City.
Now they have more experience because they weren't experienced and they were naive against Bayern.
Semi-finals.
Right, good. Jules?
What do you want from me?
I think next season is the season. They will win either the league or the Champions League. And City will be favourite and Real Madrid will be favourite with Kylian for sure in those two competitions. But it will happen next season.
Who's your loyalty stronger to, Arsenal or Kylian Mbappe?
Ooh,
Don't do this to me. I'm a dad.